Hi, we're
It
here
is
again.
Friday. We're here again, and it's Two Revs. Hello, everybody, peeps, and how are you, Tony?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well. It's
Oh,
it's. I'm going. It's been silly, as you know, because we were chatting for 10 minutes before we started, and we seem to be in a daft mood today. But
I know. I've got a
hello,
question
Bliss.
for you.
Go on,
Yes,
go on.
I've got a question for you. Can you see me in the green room
No,
downstairs? See,
no. I
I
know
can
you can
see
see me
you.
doing this.
Gonna say we were both doing it, and I didn't even realise until I looked at the screen. We were dancing along and having a
Yeah,
good old
do.
giggle.
And you
Oh,
must take down those images of me in those credits, Nick. You
I
know, filming me in the
know,
forest is just so bad.
but I just couldn't help myself. What do you know?
No. Oh dear.
So you were starting to say hello to everyone. I've just got to
I
jump on
was,
this
yeah.
one straight away. That's just not nice. She's just robbed my bank in Monopoly. I've taken myself off that game to come and do this, and she's just robbed my bank.
That is disgraceful.
So right, I
No.
did her yesterday.
Oh, that'll be a change for you, dear.
Yeah. Oh yes.
But
So let's go.
Yes, hello, Facebook user.
Yes. Hello, Facebook user, whomever you are. Welcome to the
Yes,
show.
yes,
And look, the namesake.
Nicola. Yeah,
Hey.
it's our Nick, the lady who robbed your bank. Yes, and
Yeah.
Sophie
Hello,
Summon
Shells.
you.
Hello, Sophie Summer. Good to see you. Oh, look, we're even in poetic rhyme here. Dawny, good afternoon, gents. Good afternoon to you too, my lovely. Oh, there we go.
Oh, Anthony Gopal.
You look
Hello.
amazing in that film, by the way, mate. I did see the clip. Stunning, sterling work, my man. Stunning, sterling work. Famous. He's famous. Anthony's
Oh,
famous. Yeah, Anthony's
what?
famous.
Which film? What film? Where?
I
What?
will
What?
send
How?
you a link. I will send you a link after.
Oh, go on then.
I will
Oh,
send
hi,
you.
Jason.
Hello, Jason. Good to see you. Oh, and I'll tell you who I wasn't expecting to see because she was going to be at work. Hello, Kaz.
Hi, Kaz. Are you all right, my dear? Nice to chat to you last night on Signs of the Afterlife. Go join the page. It's wonderful.
Tis. I have.
Yeah. Lorraine Clark. She has your number, mister, just in case.
Does
she wants...
she?
Yes.
Ah,
You're on your
good girl.
break.
She's on a break.
What a way to spend your break.
These two are going to start now, I tell you. Trust me. Oh,
is it going to be one of those days?
I think it might, darling. I think it might. And quite rightly so.
Yes. Because it just feels like there's a lot of upliftment around at the moment. Oh, you are more than welcome, my darling. You are more than welcome. I really didn't realise until the evidence was coming through that it was even linked to you, my sweetheart. But you are very, very welcome.
Bless you.
Lucy,
here's Lucy.
Hello.
Hello to you. Welcome to
Looking
the
very
show.
smart. Looking very smart in that profile picture.
Yes. Do you know what else I think is smart? Shall we do this now?
Go on then.
Shall we do this
Go
now?
Go on.
If everyone wants uplifting and everyone wants a giggle and everyone wants to see something very, very smart, then get ready for this.
Da-da, da-da. Look!
The Spiritline Two Revs t-shirts are ready. And they are available to purchase, and I will share a link afterwards. A big thank you, in all seriousness, to other Tony Spinks, and everyone at the wonderful Suffolk Insignia who have taken the design, made it into a t-shirt, and have made it available to purchase online.
Shelley says it's going to be her new nightie.
Yes.
And Jason, Jason.
Are you sure we weren't? Are you sure we weren't live before the show and everyone heard our conversation?
Oh, that's me done.
I am broken. I tell you, it's quite funny actually. Because obviously, for those that don't know, we are part of the Independent Spiritualist Alliance. I was at the service last night. Sorry, everyone. The technical issues will be resolved by next week. Daryl brought his dog, and it decided to become very affectionate with Reverend Barbara, one of our other bishops. It jumped on front legs onto her lap and started licking her face. I have never seen anyone look so uncomfortable in all my life, and I actually cried with laughter. But yeah, that was so funny. So it is a giggly day, and you know what? I think we need it. I think we need it.
We do. Because it's been a very, very stressful few months, couple of years. The pregnant dog or the other one? Oh,
it was the pregnant one.
It was the pregnant one. Oh, bless. But yes, it's been a bit of a meh time, hasn't it? And I mean, I can't put it any other way than meh. And to have a good laugh is just amazing. I mean, there's nothing better than when your face is and your sides are aching because you've belly laughed that hard.
Absolutely. And you know, I know because we always have a chat before the show as to what we might talk about. We were going in a very different direction.
We were
to humor, but in all honesty, I don't think we were, because we were talking for everyone at home about borders and boundaries. But I think laughter is something that defies all borders and all boundaries.
Oh, absolutely.
Humor, especially, is the one thing that really, really unites us all so much, don't you think?
Absolutely. And whether or not you've got the same sense of humor as somebody else, you can always appreciate that laughter, that just. And we were talking before, as I said, about how I work with spirit, and I get a lot of the energy through and the personality, and that's what they want. That's what spirit take with them, is the very essence of what makes them. And if they were a cheeky, feisty, wonderful person, we get that in spade loads. And they don't want, I mean, we'll have all done services like this if you have abilities and you've been to churches, services where the energy's through the floor, and you walk in and it's like you hit a wall and you're like, oh no. But if you walk in and there's a lot of chatting and giggling and laughing going on, you can feel the upliftment and spirit are there. They're not going to come to a room that's full of miserable people, because it's like, no. And we did. I know she's on. I've seen the comment from my sister Jean, not my sister, but my sister from another mother, Jean. We were at a church and we got up and we'd both given a message each. And Jean gets up for the second one and she says, "You know what? There's more life upstairs than there is in here." Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I thought, oh, gee. It's just, well, yeah.
It's true. And you know what? I think, putting it in a moment for a development / philosophical aspect, we talk so much about development. I know that if this goes the wrong way, I'm in big trouble. But what do people think about humor from the platform, about having a laugh, about, yes, keeping it all clean, good fun for the most part. But, I'm quite often told that people are being trained to not have a laugh from the platform. I hear it all the time. And it depresses me because... Yeah, and I like a damn good giggle and a damn good laugh. And at the end of the day, if the spirit person coming through had a really, really good sense of humor, that's a huge part of their personality that we are slicing off.
Yeah.
So I personally don't think that it's the right thing to do. You've got to have the humor. You've got to have a giggle, because people coming into our churches are down. People who are coming into our groups are upset and miserable because of whatever has happened in their life. We need to cheer people up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. It's a bugbear of mine, because Jean, she's commenting, so I'm not saying anything out of school here. We've brought people through and delivered messages from them in the manner of that person, because it's their message. It's their message to their loved one. It's not my message, it's their message. And it's not gone down well in churches. And there are churches we've not been asked back to because we just... But it's their loss. It's their loss, because I would feel like I was disrespecting the person that's communicating with me and the recipient of the message, because if you've got a feisty lady, and I've got to say, Kaz, there was some energy coming through last night, and if I'd been, oh, and she's telling me this, and oh, she's telling me that, and she's telling me this, and she's telling me that, that's been disrespectful. It's not respecting the energy of the person that's coming through.
Correct.
Because if they're giving me that humor, that energy, that feistiness, it's to pass on. It's not for me to keep. It's to pass on to the recipient. And they do want to laugh, because, like you say, they know that their loved one is coming to that church because they're hurting, or they're switching onto a live feed because they're hurting and they're grieving, and they want to make them feel a bit better by saying, I'm here, look, and it's me, and I've not changed, and I am the person that you knew and loved.
Yeah.
Well, I once gave somebody a message and said, and she's telling me that if you don't pack in whatever this is, this situation that we're dealing with, she's going to clip you around the back of the head. Heard a sharp intake of breath from chairperson. And I'm like, well, I don't advocate violence, but she's telling me she would clip you around the head. And the recipient said that's exactly what she would have said. If you'd said she'd have told me off, I'd have been, oh, no.
It makes sense.
No.
Yeah.
No. Oh, it helps to raise the vibration. It so does.
Yeah.
And it makes the messages flow. I find you get better evidence in those sort of services than the ones where everybody's sat like...
There we go. Hang on, I'll take your comment off now. There you go. I've just had a request for a bit of a flash of my chest.
You did, yes, I saw it.
Yeah, there you go. And these two, somebody wanted to put their hand on last night, so I let them, just what you need to do, be. And this is the thing. I've got no problem with my congregation, my friends, as well as congregation members, coming up and stroking me hair when I've shaved me hair because they like the feel of it, or putting their hands and blessing the two revs on the t-shirt. It's a giggle, it's a laugh, it's fun. I don't think I could work without humor.
No.
Don't get me wrong. It is measured. When there is a moment where seriousness is required, I will suddenly become serious. But you better bet your bottom dollar that as soon as the opportunity comes to make that person laugh again, I will make sure it comes through. I will actually row with them and say, look, okay, ease off a little bit now. Give them something to laugh at. Give them a fun memory link, because it just pulls back that moment and allows that energy to come back up. Yes, tears are essential sometimes to let go of pain and suffering, but it shouldn't be permanent. I'm reminded of a wonderful phrase. We're all the sum of our tears. Too many, and the best of us is washed away. too few and the ground becomes infertile and nothing can grow. You have to have that balance. And this is really, really quite important to think about. I've just been reminded that when we laugh, sometimes we do cry.
Yeah.
When we laugh so hard, we end up crying
with laughter. Yeah.
Nigel's good at that when he watches those epic fail videos on Facebook and YouTube. So I'm totally with you. Humor, good.
Yeah, absolutely.
For example, if I didn't have a sense of humor, I wouldn't have, taken that very well. But I don't want you to put your hands on my boobies, Shelley. So that's absolutely fine. Good to see the lovely Ashley Oliver joining us.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Revs. I hope that you've both had a good week. Hashtag bless the Revs will become a meme. I'll do that later. I will make a meme. I'll stand there doing that, and then just hashtag bless the Revs. That's a really good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that.
Dawny says humor is needed. The world is lacking it due to PC. Please, why wouldn't we have a laugh with our past ones if that's what they and this is the key thing, is what they want. It is what they want.
They bring it through because they want to pass it on.
Absolutely. Speaking of passing forward, enjoy the rest of your shift, Kaz.
Bye, darling. Have a good
one.
Shelley's laughing. You did it last night with Barbara.
I actually did cry with laughter when Barbara got assaulted by the dog. I got to say, I love this. You may bless the Revs.
Oh dear, I love it.
Wow.
I love it.
But this is really important, actually. Humor equals divine.
Absolutely.
Says it on the can. Says it on the can.
And you are right that we are still talking within the themes we were picking up before we started the service, because again, it's reading the room and knowing where those boundaries lie, how far you can push the humor before it becomes insensitive. And it is about, and that's the thing that I think we are passing on the development to the next generation of mediums. That's what we've got to teach, is to read the room and know how far you can push before you are. Absolutely, Sharon. I will write that down now.
Me too. Sorry. You'll go in my book.
Helen and daughter. Sorry. Just if I don't write it down now, I will forget.
No, me too.
That's the thing I think that needs teaching, is that understanding of, you will get the feeling of a church or a centre, or even comments coming up in a live feed. You'll get a feel for how they're reacting to things, and you'll know how far you can push things. And in terms of, there are times when the spirit will give you something and you think, actually, I absolutely cannot pass that on in this circumstance, because I'd get booted out and I'd get banned for life. So it's all about tempering it and saying, all right, I'll pass it on. However, I'm going to have to say this rather than what you said, because I know Michael's dad sometimes brings stuff through. If I'm really struggling with a message, he'll sometimes step in to try and help. And he's wicked. He really is. His ambition is to make me drop the F-bomb.
Yes.
And he keeps pushing and pushing and pushing, and it's not going to happen. So I know when he's around, I've got to put a 5-second delay in, because otherwise I will get myself in trouble. Mario, sorry.
Done it as well.
This is another idea I was kicking around, Nick, and I will say it on air before I forget again. A healing service.
Yes, absolutely.
With just philosophy and healing, and also I I know it's going to be hard to do, but people are going to have to bring their own. But a communion type service as well, I feel would be important to do. Just Mario, sorry. Oh, right, there you go.
I totally agree. And the thing we could do with healing, for example, is a simple meditation where everyone can join in, take in healing, send healing out. Again, this could be something that we do as part of the work we do. It could be something that we do live, but we could also have a shorter recorded version on that people could do at any time.
Absolutely.
So it's that there are so many possibilities in this way of life.
Because I know Nicola, who's on watching, and Leslie, who watches sometimes, they both did a development course with Jean and myself, and they do meditations, and when we're on doing something like this, they'll both open up a little bit and allow the healing energies to flow through.
Yeah.
So it is something you can do. And if people wanted, have ideas about different ways we can do services and things, but via Zoom, via this, just shout up and we'll take it on board and we'll look at it, because we're bursting with ideas, but it's no good us putting things out there if it's not what you guys want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, in terms of the boundaries and things, again, we will do whatever we can to help within the boundaries of what we can do. And if we can't, we'll find somebody who can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we know guys who do podcasts and things. So, there's lots of opportunities and things. And yes, it does look like Nick is smoking a shister pipe with that cord on. Yeah. But if it's helping him to pack in with the real ciggies.
I know. Absolutely. And do you know what? Since February, not a single one. I've got to be honest, I have had a dream about smoking. So it's obviously worse up there than it is outwardly, but I've actually dreamed about smoking a cigarette. But do you know what the best part of it was? It was disgusting.
Was it?
It was horrible. So I think even my subconscious is kind of
it's giving it up now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right. These will be next, obviously. But yeah, so humor, healing, upliftment, and laughter.
Yeah.
All the things that get left out. I mean, I've been working with a number of people in development now. The amount of times I hear them being told that they've got to become basically a drone.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah.
It really, really is awful. Personality is what spirit is all about. So why should you numb and dumb your own personality to do the work of spirit when it's exactly what they're supposed to be bringing through? Personality. And if we want to engage people, it's like the stagecraft of mediumship, as the lovely Ashley said. I'll go back to that comment now. The key part of the stagecraft of mediumship development, the nuances of private versus divine services. You do have to read the room and be careful, but the most important thing is that you engage people. I do not like the phrase "for entertainment purposes only." I refuse to say it, as we all know that have known me for any amount of time. But it doesn't mean to say that we can't be entertaining, uplifting, bringing people a little bit of laughter and light and love, as alongside proof that life is forever and love is eternal.
Absolutely.
Why would we try and turn that into a generic thing? It just beggars belief for me. So I encourage anyone that I work with on development to, develop their personality as part of their work. And you can always tell a good medium isn't necessarily always about their evidence, because you can be the most evidential medium in the room, but if you're not engaging people, if you're not drawing their attention, people aren't going to notice how good your evidence is.
No.
So you have to be yourself.
Yes. I'm just thinking back now over the 10 and a half, 11 years I've been going to spiritualist churches and things, both to sit in congregation and to deliver the services. And the ones that stand out for me, the services I've watched as part of the congregation, are the mediums that caught me, that got my attention.
Yeah.
The ones that stand there and go, lady, she's 5'4". She wants to tell you that she loves you very much, that she used to bake pastries and that she used to. No, gone.
Yeah.
Gone. Yeah. The ones that, I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was talking to Jean actually on our live, and I said about delivering philosophy. And there's a blind medium does the circuit around here, and he rapped the lyrics to a song that he liked.
Wow.
That he thought the message was in the lyrics of the song. And he said, and I was thinking about how I could phrase it, and I thought, no, sod it, I'll just deliver you the song. I'm not going to sing it because I can't sing, and he just rapped it. And that was like, whoa, yeah. And that was the tone of his whole service was, and plus the gasps from the congregation as he was walking towards the front of the rostrum, and you're thinking, oh God, but it counted the steps, so he knew exactly how far he could walk backwards and forward. But
yes,
it was him, and he was delivering it in his way. And I always say, I can teach somebody to open up, to get a connection, and how to start bringing those messages forward, but I can't teach you how to deliver that. That's got to be you.
Yes,
that's your style. And people always say, even though Jean taught you and developed you, you work very, very differently, but similar. And it's because I'm me. I'm not Jean, and Jean's not a dad, and Jean's not a stepmom. Jean is Jean, and I wouldn't have her any other way. But be yourself. It's the only.
So Ashley says, be yourself. It's the
only
way.
I was catching up.
The other extreme is a gentle introverted medium who is trying to tell jokes. It's cringy. The energy never lies, and people can tell when a medium is not being genuine and true to themselves. Surely, for every person who needs a message, there is a medium who can deliver it perfectly. Amen.
Bravo.
Amen.
Preach.
Yeah. Preach, my lovely. Yeah, absolutely. It is about expressing and bringing out your own personality. Having said that, I do know of a medium who doesn't even need to speak, and everyone is melting and cooing and excited to see him. Speaking of which, good afternoon, Reverend Stapley. There was a little lead in there, wasn't it?
It was good. Yeah, I got that.
It was. I couldn't help myself. I apologize, Matt. Only a little bit apologize.
Yeah. Matt could literally just read the telephone book, and I would melt in my chair. It's just his voice. It's just like, but hey, Matt. Sorry, we're talking about you.
The funny thing is, I've got to tell this story. I no way do it to embarrass him, but there is a certain level of stagecraft. I for example, everyone says they hate the sound of their own voice. I know this, but I especially do. But I've got to tell you this story, right? And I can say it now because I know I won't get the sack because I don't work for them anymore. But I was when I was working in a certain retail environment, I was having a break. Actually, they can't sack me. I was on a break. It's like Ross or Friends. It was a break.
We were on a break.
I was sat next to the microwave. That's how I know it was a break. And Matt and we used to chat, but use voice. It was when they started doing voice over messenger. So we'd send each other voice messages. And I was listening back to one of the messages he just sent me. And one of my colleagues walked round the back and was obviously earwigging. And she just stood there and she dropped everything she was holding. And she's like, oh my God, he sounds dreamy. And I must remember to tell Matthew. Now, I don't know whether I did or not, but if I didn't, I just
You have now.
As well as everyone watching. You know, so it's
Yeah.
good. It's good to see
Yeah.
him, Matt. We must see. Even on his picture, everyone will be cooing over the tattoos on his arms.
It's not the tattoos I'm looking at.
There we go. Here it all.
Oh,
there we go. See, I did remember.
Bravo, bravo.
Bless you. Good to have you along, Matt. If everyone watching, if you have not seen Matt Stapley work, it is even more so than his voice, I tell you.
Yeah.
It just adds. Everyone say hello to Matt. You know, you're absolutely right there. But you know what? It's wonderful the way this community joins together, and you know, we don't have to do a lot of work anymore, really.
No,
you know, because you know we don't have to plan anything. You think back when we started, you know.
We'd have script nearly.
Yeah, but now we don't have to, because everyone drives the conversation. Reminds me when I've missed someone who said hello. So good afternoon, Cherry. Hi, Cherry. Good to see you again. It feels like forever. But it's actually only 3.5 hours. Not even that, maybe about 2. But yes, so where are we? So Joe said, I've seen some give evidence, some give so much evidence that the message is lost in the evidence. We're meant to enjoy the journey through life, upliftment as part of being in life. If there's one message that we are kept giving, is the spiritual family wants you to be happy, celebrate life, enjoy the. Do you know what? It's true. Sometimes there can be so much of a barrage. You don't remember anything. That's one of the advantages of online services now, I feel. Because you can watch back your message. But we should be we should be focused on making sure that everything is heard and understood. Absolutely right, Joe. Do you know what? Let's ask him right now, shall we? Sharon makes a good point. Shall we have a guest 1, 2 Revs and have 3 Revs?
Yeah. Yes.
So
3 Revs
Matt,
on philosophy.
If you're ever around on a Friday afternoon at this time, we usually start at 4 o'clock, so half an hour ago. Yeah, absolutely. No pressure. Then we'd love to bring you on and introduce you to a new wave of friends that we've met along the way.
There we go.
Here we go, everybody. There we go. We get to hear that voice. You know, and it will be like old times. It's got to be nearly 2 years, if not longer, since all 3 of us worked together.
Yeah.
In actual fact, the last time, I don't actually think it was in theory working together. I just popped on because you two were actually doing a service for me.
Yes. That's right. Gosh, Linda.
So
your mum, 3 of you. Oh boy.
Absolutely. There we go. Well, we love working with you, Matt. So yes, everyone, we will set a date. We will advertise it well. You know, better than 4 or 5 hours like I normally do. I apologize for that.
You will need a 3-hour slot.
Probably.
Yeah. I won't be going to the theatre straight after that one then.
Yes. Gonna say you're off out tonight, aren't you?
I am, yes. We're going out to see a show.
Fabulous.
Bless you. It never gets any easier, Sharon. I've just spotted Sharon Calladine.
Hang on.
Bless you.
Yeah. It doesn't. But you get better. You get stronger. But that feeling never, ever leaves you. But it's how you manage it and remembering the good stuff and and there we go. There's the remembering the laughter and the humor and the joy. You know, I was reminded. I had a message from someone this morning. excellent medium. I would say she's very advanced. And she gave me a wonderful message from Dad. And reminded me of memory links that I'd forgotten, and it was all about the humor and upliftment. And that's the important thing. People, ask me sometimes, why do you share memory links as evidence? Well, why wouldn't you? Because when you think of someone, you have a memory pop into your head of that one time that was really, really amazing.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? And why wouldn't they want to remind you of that emotional moment?
That's it.
And connect. So, memory links are so perfect. And they do convey with them many different emotions. They can be humorous, they can be serious, they can be deeply, tear-jerking, but most importantly, they are filled with emotion. And I think sometimes in this way of life, we strive for losing that emotional connection. And that's just
wrong.
And I'm glad everyone else, who's commenting, I know would agree. But I tell you what, to keep the humor going, please, everyone, share with you the funniest message you've ever been given by Spirit.
Yes.
Let's have a round robin and see just how bad it's gotten. The funniest link you've ever had from Spirit, either intended or not intended. Because my one is still a completely unintended trip and trick from that young man who I was talking to. And I will share that in a moment. But Sharon has just said, well, I tell you what, she's defo round me. My pans make a noise. And if that's not her, it's mice with bother boots on. Brilliant.
No, all I can see are mice in Dr. Martens.
Yes. I saw a mouse on the worktop wearing bother boots, dancing on my pots and pans. Wow. I think Susan, you're absolutely right. I think it becomes easier when you have crossed the acceptance stage. After that, it definitely gets easier and is not so intense. I think it sometimes still trips you up. It's like walking around the corner, but you're absolutely right. Once you reach that acceptance stage, and again, that's different for everyone.
Yeah.
Acceptance is so different for everyone.
And you might not reach it just once. You might reach acceptance and then slide and go back a couple and come back. And, bliss. No, I have given some messages that were, one in particular comes to mind.
Go on.
Do you want me to share?
Oh, yes.
I was in quite a cozy environment. It was a little community centre come library. And I was giving this lady a message, and it was a brother, and it was, lots of stuff coming through. And I was on about tattoos, so she rolled her sleeve up. I mean, I couldn't see. She had a sweater on. She rolled her sleeves up, and she had tattoos right up both arms. And I said, but it's not just your nose you've got pierced. And she stopped, and she went, okay. I said, you've had one around your mouth? And she's like, yeah, I took it out because it was chipping my teeth. And then I said, and he's just drawn a triangle in front of me. And she went, oh shit, sorry. And she had both of her nipples pierced, and to make a triangle,
something else.
Yes. And hubby puts chains on them and to lead her about. And she's like, that was done 2 years after he died.
Wow.
And I said, well, he's there and he's watching and he's laughing. And she's like, oh, God, I hope he wasn't there when I had it done. I swore like a trooper.
Absolutely.
I bet you did. You nothing below the waist, dear. That's the rule. Yeah. Nothing below the waistline.
Yes.
But that was mine. And all I got was the triangle. She filled in the rest of the information. TMI.
Oh, but well, this brilliant. Is the thing. And they will catch you out with stuff. I mean, Joe's just said, yes, that what makes me laugh is when my spirit grandma said that I talked to myself. So they weren't listening then, and I just love that. That is so. My small people just said, "Did I just?"
Sorry. I do apologize.
I will slap him later. I
do apologize. Again, it just was spur of the moment. Sorry.
So I will make it a little bit less, damaging on the ears. However, it is still quite funny, really, but more because of the way I got in trouble. Because they do trick you. I mean, your guy gave you the triangle as a way of getting the information across. Oh, is it you or me? Oh no, you're back. I just thought suddenly we'd been ripped off Facebook. I was giving this message to this young man and was talking about how they liked growing things together, and he went, "Oh, I don't remember that." And I said, "I can see you two growing tomato plants." And he said, "Oh, no." I said, "Look, I'm absolutely adamant. I can see these leaves. I can see the blue lights to help them grow better. I'm absolutely adamant that you two used to love growing these tomatoes and selling them." It wasn't tomatoes. It was cannabis. But I didn't know what it was. But it had everyone rolling in the aisles.
Nice hand-shaped leaves.
Yes, hand-shaped leaves. See, I got the closest thing that I could actually identify with because, being a 21-year-old sweet and innocent thing that I was, I'd never seen anything like that before.
Okay.
Seriously, I led a very sheltered youth.
Yeah.
But they will trap you with information or at least give you enough. See, this is the official line. They will give you enough so that you know what it is without actually knowing. I will make him do penance later.
Wow.
There's a cannabis store on every street corner and a cannabis plant in everyone's backyard. And see, this is the thing.
Yeah.
There we go. And no, they are not. I am being absolutely honest here. I have never seen.
I can imagine Nick being very pure as the driven snow until, yeah.
Yeah, and then it became slush, mate, I tell you.
Yeah, Shelley, there will be a mass exodus from the UK to go and live in Matthew's spare room.
I was gonna say back garden, but yeah, spare room even more so. At least it will be, a little bit warmer because let's face it, it's Canada. So the spare room, your spare room, Matt's going to be very, very busy.
Yeah,
very, very
definitely.
But this is the thing. What I got Nick's granddad telling. Yes. I'm not going to bring it up on screen in case little eyes are watching. But I am going to say it because it's a little less obvious. I got Nick's granddad telling me to tell him Tango Whiskey Alpha Tango in exactly that way.
Wow.
So yeah, there has been some pretty hairy stuff come through.
Yeah.
But it is about how we manage it. Not allowing spirit to, get so close that we say the things.
Yeah, it's like
we
just then. Yeah, it's like just then.
This is going to go down on the Christmas blooper roll,
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. Yes, but told you when Michael's dad's around,
you're
there's
in
trouble.
Absolutely,
I'm in trouble. Yeah, bless him.
Oh,
but oh dear, no, it has been very uplifting. I'm pleased because I've needed it this week.
I'm always a little bit cautious about saying there seems to be something going on with the alignment of planets, because I think sometimes we can blame the planets Yes, and that actually came from the platform, if memory serves me. My grandmother called my mum something very, very naughty from the platform, and he didn't just imply it.
Really?
Yeah. It was not good. It was not good. So
Wow.
it does, and it certainly made your comment look extremely tame, and that's all I'm saying.
Wow.
Extremely tame.
Wow.
Matthew, you take care. Enjoy your lunch.
We will set a date.
We will set a date. Yes. Yes. You can come on the screen. We can have a three-way. It'll be great. Everyone will love it. And yes, you're absolutely right, Bliss. The planets have been crazy all year.
They have.
They really
they have. They have. Yes.
And Matthew has said that he's very much looking forward to coming on the show. We definitely look forward to that.
I would indeed. Jason spotted it.
I think quite a few people have. Thank you for bringing some decorum back to the proceedings, the lovely Sherry. But yes,
Oh, don't.
I didn't say that, Susan.
No, you said what Joanne said.
Yes, I was being.
Oh dear. I think I am as well. You know when you said about crying with laughing?
Yeah. But yes, yes, the planets.
The planets. Yes, let's get back to these goddamn planets.
Yeah, let's get. Yeah. Yes.
There has been some very strange energies around.
Yes,
I agree with you.
I believe there's been a lot in retrograde. Mercury's been in retrograde. I don't follow that sort of thing very closely. I will be honest with you. I'm not knocking anyone who does, because it's been around a lot longer than I have. You talk about right. This is so long as I word it appropriately, I can share it. Mum has just made a comment. You need our raffle prize. Last night, now, little bit of history, and this is where we talk about humor, and this is where, I say, when I say we bring a bit of humor into our services, I means it. For the last couple of services, I've been bringing a joke booby prize. Silly little things, but still quite useful. So there was. You're absolutely right, Sherry. We were discussing that earlier. It is all in the stars. So I've been bringing in vegetables and things. So we had a pineapple, there was a butternut squash, various different bits and bobs. Somebody brought in last night as the final raffle prize a packet of tenner, lady.
Oh, good heavens.
And it was the medium who got licked by a dog that won them. I said she should use them to wipe her face.
Yeah.
Because they're very absorbent, you see. So she can.
They are apparently
dried her face. But thank you, Daniel. Yes, but yeah, I don't follow the stars and the planets that much anymore. Used to, won't deny that, because it's something that I've grown. Oh, bless you. Bless you, my child. I have grown out of it, I suppose. It's not that I don't disbelieve in them. It's just that it's not something that I take a great deal of interest in anymore. However, as I was saying before I made a complete boob of myself, those practices have existed for thousands of years. There's got to be something in it. And I know that sometimes it can be made into a bit of a joke and a little bit of a naughty joke itself, which is why Sir Patrick Moore, may you be blessed,
Yes.
always used to pronounce a certain planet in a different way.
Yes. Yes.
Him and his monocle sitting there. I actually have a letter somewhere. I'll get it for one of the shows. I actually have a letter from Patrick Moore because I told my teacher that they were wrong when they told me that Mars was red because it was hot. Bear in mind, I'm 10 years old, and the teacher says Mars is red because it's hot. And I'm thinking, that's not true. It's rust, love. And I told her and I got told off. So I wrote to Patrick. Just shows what see, everyone questioning what I was up to in my teenage years. It was writing to scientists. I wrote to Patrick Moore and told him what the teacher had said. And can you send me a letter back telling her she's wrong? And
oh, God, shit.
There's no way it could get worse than making a boo of yourself.
Oh, don't! Haven't got the energy to laugh anymore.
I know. But yeah, Patrick Moore did write back to me and tell my teacher off because Mars is further away from the sun and therefore is cold and is not hot and is covered in rust. That's why it glows red. But interestingly enough, here's the thing, and here's why I was telling the story. They talk about Mars being the planet of war. Well, it's covered in armor, isn't it? If it's covered in rust, yes. It's wearing a coat. So there are so many things that are seen when you talk about the. So I'm struggling to breathe.
Me too. That's why I'm sitting here really quiet.
Yeah. When you look at things like the creation myths, there are so many things in there that actually make scientific sense. You would be a fool to question, these historical practices. For example, when you talk about the creation and there was the water and then the firmament was created and the water was separated from the water. There was the oxidization event, I believe it's called. So there was this algae in the water and the atmosphere was toxic. It was filled with CO2, so it was obviously, post-industrialization. But no, the atmosphere was filled with CO2. And this algae ate CO2 and gassed out oxygen. And it is what kick-started the Great Oxidization event. And so the temperature rose, the water began to condense and form the clouds. The water above the water. So there are so many things in these old traditions. So why would we not, take notice of what was interpreted? Look, these days we sit here and we'll pick up a pendulum, pick up a packet of oracle cards, throw some runes down. Back then they would look and see what position the stars were in. There is no difference.
No, not at all. And I mean, just look at, I believe it's the Great Pyramid has a shaft running through and there's a hole.
Yes.
And it lines up perfectly with a particular star on a particular evening of the year. And it's like, it blows your brain. It's perfectly aligned.
Yes.
Mind blown. The stars meant that much to them.
Yeah.
That
Not only that, that particular shaft of which you refer is also specifically designed to resonate at a certain frequency.
yeah.
If memory serves me, they have found a residue that is within that. Thank you, Daniel. Yes, you're absolutely right. This is where I'm going with this. They were hydro generators. There is a chemical, the separation of water creating hydrogen. They have picked up residue in that shaft where there is hydrogen scoring or something like that, and the frequency at which sound travels, if I remember right, it was sound, I think it was sound, travels up, it vibrated steam and separated out hydrogen molecules.
Wow.
It is my new favorite crush, I will admit, the Y-Files. But he does his homework on it. He's not a conspiracy theorist in any way.
No.
Hecklefish is.
Yes.
Is. But it really is awesome. And like you said, the preciseness. And when you look at the way thank you. Yes. Thank you, Sharon Rose. The white powder they found there. Yes. So I did remember it right. Oh, Ashley, prehistoric monuments were believed to be built to align with the stars. History is being rewritten and pushed back to date. The date of when things happened, when things happen all the time. Sorry, I just tripped over my gap.
Gap in your teeth.
Yeah,
but yeah,
and yeah,
it's so true. They change things to make it fit a modern sensibility.
Yeah,
and if we can't understand things, well, how could they have understood it way back then? Well, they did. I'm sorry, but they did. I mean, Egyptology has been something I've been really interested in for years and years, but it's just the accuracy of their mathematics is mind-blowing,
right down to the placement of the stones.
Yeah,
because what I didn't know is that the pyramids aren't exact pyramids.
No,
they're not. It's, if you look from the top, it's not an exact square. It's slightly dented in, but it is exactly the same angle inwards on each side.
Yeah,
and it is so precise. I'll be honest with you, I've loved Egyptology for a long time, but I've not been that detailed in its research until I was watching these videos. Yeah, just a tad. Madame Blavatsky was on the right track all the time. Controversial. Oh yes. The importance of a sorry, I do apologize. I didn't read that before I posted it. You can slap him later.
Oh yeah.
Nikola Tesla was the man from thousands of years ago. He knew the workings. That's why his work was lost. So, we've got a lot going on there to digest.
Yes.
A lot.
It's been a bit of a packed show.
I'm beaten. But yeah, I do. Nikola Tesla's knowledge of the pyramids, and he actually did. He did do some really, really awesome stuff that was basically knocked. And I just think if things had been a bit different, who knows where we'd be now.
Well, exactly.
Interestingly enough, that Y-Files, there is actually there was a Blavatsky video.
Was there?
They did talk about Blavatsky. He did some stuff on another one that everyone will recognize. He did some work on Nostradamus.
Oh, now you're talking.
Yeah. So
I've read some of his stuff.
Yeah. I've got a few of his books still. The thing with me is I buy books and then I give them away, and I don't ask for books back. I don't believe that books should be loaned; they should be given, and then people just keep passing them on and passing them on. A bit like spiritual knowledge. But there are a couple of books that I will never give away, to be honest with you. So out of all of the spiritual beings throughout history, and perhaps, slightly ahead of their time scientific ones, including, which ones influence you the most?
Me?
Yeah.
Oof. Oh God, it varies. It varies. It really does, because I find a lot of things interesting in a lot of different spiritual and religious groups, and I sort of cherry pick the bits I like. But Egyptians blew my brain when I learned about the Egyptians at school, because it was like, wow, the way that they embraced their faith was amazing, absolutely amazing. And Druids, the idea of listening to the environment, to nature, to the spirit around you, and allowing that to drive you forward and to influence your society is, and it just, it's just amazing. And then you get, like, you move through to the Abrahamic era, and Doris Stokes actually was my first ever foray into trying to understand what was happening to me.
Yes.
I got one of her books, Whispers in My Ear, I think it was called. Something like that.
Voices in My Ear.
Voices in My Ear.
Yeah.
There is another one with whispers in it somewhere, though.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is. But Doris Stokes was my first trying to understand what was happening to me, because it resonated. Everything she said in her book resonated with me. It was like, yeah, I get it now. I understand. Yeah. I think if we didn't try and force everybody to think the way we do, and by we I mean sort of the Christian Catholic thing, and just listen to other religions and other faiths, and try and grasp their knowledge and think, actually there's something in that, and it's not that far different from what we believe. Again, we look at the thing of try and look at what makes us similar rather than what differs, and we get on a lot easier and a lot better. The Dorises, you had the whole set, Yanis. Wow.
Do not apologize, because I was just saying before you came on, I give books away. I'm sure you're sorry that you gave them away, but somebody would have benefited greatly from that. Because, as Ashley says, the Dorises have left such a legacy. So many people found her books as a gateway into spiritualism. I'll be honest with you, my mum had about half a dozen on her shelf when I was a kid. Half a dozen of them. And I always remember, and I never actually looked at them, but it made me aware of them. I did just do a quick Google. Whispering Voices was the one with whispering in. Because all of her books had voices in the title. Voices in My Ear, Further Voices in My Ear, Whispering Voices. I think it's wonderful. And Betty Shine is another one of a similar draw
not
to
read.
People.
Not read.
I haven't, but I've heard of her, and I've heard of her books, and I've seen her books, and people have talked about her books. so you've got the Doris series, you've got the Betty series. What's that?
Everything just went off and then came back on again.
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Looks like either Doris or Betty are about.
Yeah. No, the lights, everything went off and then suddenly came back on.
Wow. Oh, that was close.
Yeah.
I was actually doing a circle this afternoon and forgot to charge my laptop up. That was interesting. Speaking of, my first book that opened up my awareness was Radiation of Light, Man's Responsibility on Earth by Mona Rolfe. I have not seen that one, but I'm going to be looking into it.
No.
I
will have to look at that. Yeah.
Where was I? Yeah, totally agree. Books, good way to share. I gave them to the church. Yanis, love you.
Bless you. Yeah.
Wonderful.
The TV mediums from the 90s,
yes.
John Edward and Colin Fry.
I've got a John Edwards book on my shelf, and Colin is such a lovely guy. Such a lovely guy.
Yeah.
I just loved him.
Yeah.
I just really loved him.
I did. It was just so genuine. Just so genuine.
So there we go. And this is the difference. Betty didn't do it for me. People say that spiritualism has changed in the sense that we've got these various different camps forming. I don't actually agree that spiritualism has changed in that way. It's always been there. You've got the Betty camp, you've got the Doris camp, you've got the Gordon camp, you've got the Colin camp, you've got the John Edwards camp. These various different gateways into, I love that word, thank you, Ashley. These various different gateways into this way of life did tend to, direct people's line of thought. It was never intended that way.
No.
But it's just so wonderful. It's just so wonderful that people have brought people in. But I think it's more prevalent now because of social media. There are more and more camps available for people to come in through.
Yeah.
Dawny, Doris Stokes' books are amazing. Thanks to Nick for I did recommend Joyful Voices.
Yeah,
because that was a good. Shelley, Peter Pan, and Wendy resonate with me. Don't apologize, because that was definitely someone on a spiritual trip. Definitely. Joanne, totally agree with you. Spirit guide you to the right books for what you need to know.
Yeah. Oh, Daniel, you all do the same job, just in a different way.
Bravo. Here.
Trust Daniel to bring it down to a concise sentence.
Trust Daniel, indeed. I have noticed it.
Yes. Now we're just talking about books in general, aren't we? Because your mum says she loves.
I'm going to say Mum's gone on. Yeah, well, it is religious because she had a thing for Ralph de Breckensaw.
Yeah, didn't we all?
Yeah. I'm not going to go down that route because she didn't know at the time.
Me too. One section in particular, Shelley. I can't imagine which section that is.
We're bringing it down. We're bringing it down again, aren't we?
I started it today. I do apologise. It's me.
It's all right. I think we both gave as good as each other.
Yeah.
Or not yet.
No.
But yeah, literature in our way of life has often been forgotten. This is the thing, right? I'm going to throw this out here now. The amount of people that tell us that philosophy is neither wanted nor needed. A show on a Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. of two blokes sitting talking spiritual philosophy, plus, would not be needed, wanted, welcome, or of much interest. And yet we're all sitting here talking about books from the 1980s and earlier about spiritualism. How many messages did Doris Stokes give in her books?
None.
How many messages did Betty Shine give in her books? How many messages did John? How many messages did Colin? How many messages from Spirit were given from White Feather, from White Eagle, for Silver Birch? They were messages from Spirit, but not your auntie says this and your granddad says this. It was philosophy.
Yep.
The philosophy has always been there in one way, shape, or form. People talk about spiritualism growing and evolving. Just make use of what's available, which, if crying out loud, is what we're doing. We've taken from books and we've taken from pamphlets, and we're now on somebody's TV screen, computer screen, mobile phone screen, talking about new and understanding of philosophy. That is exactly what people want. That is exactly what people need. And spiritualism needs to get their act together and realize that we can move with the times without abandoning what matters to us the most. And the philosophy is the message that everyone can take.
Thank you. Thank you. I completely agree. I completely agree. And if they're saying, but in a Sunday divine service, people want messages. Well, yeah, you've got the church for a lot of places own their own buildings. So you have the church for 7 days a week. There you go. You can do philosophy on another evening or on a Sunday afternoon or whatever. Do what we have done, take it online and use it as part of the church, but in an online version or something. Oh, bless you, Daniel.
That is lovely.
You. Yeah, it is. That's touched me, that really has.
Yeah. Jesus, the teacher and healer from White Eagle, warmed my heart. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shelley. You could have mentioned that at least 2 sentences earlier, so I didn't go flush. And Cherry's on board with that too.
Yeah. You know,
it is the message that everyone can take. And how many times have you sat there and heard people say, well, I didn't get a message, but do you know what? I think the philosophy was for me.
I've had that so many times in a church where I didn't get a message off you tonight. However, when you were talking about this, and this in your philosophy, I was just doing that the other day with, and you get this whole story of, you know, it's that bit that transcends. It's the bit that makes it a faith and a religion.
Yeah,
is the teaching
rather than a social club with a gimmicky act.
Yeah. It's like, well, in a lot of places, it's so. Are we going to opening prayer? Oh, well, if you want, we don't always bother.
Yeah.
What? You know?
Yeah. And you can always tell the old school mediums. And I'm not saying that based on age or generation. I'm talking on attitude, because it doesn't matter whether they are young, middle-aged, old, or indifferent. You can always tell the old school mediums. The first thing they ask is, would you like me to open in prayer? And it's very, very pleasing to get mediums coming through who are younger than me asking that question. You know, some of them are grateful that I do the philosophy and the prayer. But when they turn around and say that, it's usually, oh, do you know what? It's nice that you do the prayers and the philosophy, because I do struggle with it, but it'll be nice to hear somebody else do something so I can get a few ideas. That is fine, you know, but for, you know, it is again, it's whatever people want and feel their need. But it can sometimes become more like a social club than have the meaning of that spiritual faith that we have. That I know so many people have. And those with spiritual faith are being squeezed out because of that attitude. So it isn't all inclusive, because it's pushing those that see spiritualism as a religion, which it is, by the way, it's those people are feeling like they are being squeezed out of this way of life for the sake of putting bums on seats.
Yeah. And whilst I understand you have to keep the doors of a church open, there are different ways of doing that. I mean, if we were in a centre now, just look how many people would have come through the door.
Yeah.
To hear us waffle on for an hour and 16 minutes and 49 seconds about the philosophy behind what is spiritual, and a few innuendos and swear words in between, of which I apologise for again. But that Joanne has just said, I love to go to a service when they open and close in prayer. It's a religion and a faith. Why would you not?
Exactly.
Why would you not open in prayer and set the intention for that service and ask for God to draw close and to allow spirit to be involved in the service?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you don't have to because they'll be there anyway, but you do in that sense. You ask God to watch over this service. No, they don't, dear. Like I said, I've walked into churches and said, so do you want me to open in prayer or do you do it?
Yeah.
No, do what you want. We don't always bother.
Yeah.
You know.
The main thing I get from philosophy talk is basically just love one another and be nice. If that's what you get, you're listening. Well done. Absolutely. Yes.
I know which church Daniel's on about.
So Daniel has said, I used to go to a spiritualist church with my mum when I was a young teen. I prefer this style that you both do. I'd love to come and have a service with you. If you're in Littleport, we're gonna be in the same hall very soon.
27th of July.
27th of July, Littleport Village Hall, CB6 1LX. It's always done in Oz, and that is brilliant. It really, really is, because not every, I mean, let's face it, about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even longer, probably more like 10 now, thinking of it, there was this whole argument that churches were being renamed from churches into centre and group because people didn't like the word church.
Yeah.
You know,
that there's a whole lot of pioneer centres now, which the SNU run, but don't call them churches.
Yeah.
But anyway, there we are.
You know, this is look.
Oh, Daniel, that would be lovely.
Yeah. I'm gonna say Ely's got loads to do.
It has.
Like looking at cathedrals
gorgeous.
And rivers. There's
gorgeous.
restaurants. You know, restaurants, hotels. You know, places to eat. Mum wants to know if we're going to have breakfast again. We better.
Linda, shh, secrets.
What do you mean? We took photos and shared it all over the internet.
Oh, we did. Yeah, I forgot about that bit. But I'm up for it if you are, Linda.
Absolutely.
It was lovely breakfast.
It was a great breakfast. It really, really was.
And great company as well.
It certainly was. But this is the thing, you know, I get that it's all about taking what you need from it, but we must be respectful of the history of this way of life, the way it came into being, and the needs of those that are what I would call myself slightly more old-fashioned in understanding. And it is a faith, it is a way of life. So we should not be squeezing those people out who are part of the original understanding. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've changed and grown and evolved over time. For instance, with prayers, as a child, it was Dear God. Growing up in a Church of England school, it was Our Father who art in heaven. Then when I became a spiritualist, it was Great Spirit, Father, Mother, God. But I'm also aware that we have evolved and have various different understandings of spirit in our churches. So my prayer is now Great Spirit, Father, Mother, God, Divine Source, and ever-present being of light. It covers all the bases. It's the same one. but it recognizes that there are many different understandings as to the name that is behind that image that we are talking about. So I do open up the opening of my prayer. It's getting longer and longer and longer. We might have to book the hall an extra hour just to get the prayer in by the time I retire. But but it's that making people feel welcome and feel a part of it. It's about including, not excluding.
And that ties nicely into what Daryl has just popped on the screen.
Which is at the core, and for those that missed it, which is everybody online, and again, I apologize, the core of what I was talking about last night. All are welcome. That is the whole idea behind what we do. All being welcome. I like that. The church I went to called him the Divine and Ever-Loving Spirit. I may steal that one. I'll give you recognition, of course.
Yes.
We might need to book a big table for all of us for breakfast.
I would seriously love to see people at Little Port. If you round that way, if it's not too far to drive, it would be wonderful.
I do know someone who's been looking into how much it would cost to fly down.
Blooming heck.
I know.
Oh.
Wow. See, I like how they do it in Australia.
Yeah. It's not affiliated with anything, but it is what it is. And like I said, it's part of we love about what we do is we exclude nobody. We will look for ways to actively include people.
Yes.
Rather than exclude them. I can't think of many instances where I would actually boot somebody off a live service I was doing. They would have to be either really, really disrespectful or be completely saying words like I said. Ashley, I'm sorry, yeah.
You dug yourself a hole with that one, mate.
I did. It was just out my mouth before.
You couldn't have caused too much animosity. You couldn't have caused too much animosity because Ashley said she'd love to come to our services. So there we go. So I think you might be forgiven for dropping the S-bomb.
Told you he's building up to the F-bomb.
I know, that is the worry sometimes, though. But yeah, I love the community inside of it, and I love the way people come together. Yeah,
this is amazing.
I mean, this wasn't our idea.
No,
this was everyone online's idea. Yes, last night at our service we did have a lovely big husky who was very well behaved, apart from getting very up close and personal with Reverend Barbara.
Yeah, we need to teach dogs consent.
Yes. But, the most important thing really is that people come together in unity and love and compassion and respect each other's boundaries. And this is the thing. What I find is when I talk about all are welcome, there is... I do apologize. She's Northern Inuit. Not a husky, a Northern Inuit. I do apologize. That's me told. There you go.
I need to Dr. Google that.
Yes, she's gorgeous. She's pregnant and gorgeous. But you're absolutely right, Yanis. It is exactly what is most important, including people, making people feel comfortable and welcome. There is an issue. Because sometimes that can be taken as meaning I can do what I want, when I want, it's my right, and people have got to put up with that. But one of the themes that came out of last night's address was that, unfortunately, that's not the case. Making everyone feel welcome is the most important thing, is that everyone has to feel comfortable. And if an action that you perform makes someone feel uncomfortable, if a thing you do makes someone feel uncomfortable, we have to work through it. But that doesn't give you the right to, process and stamp all over people and try and push them out by behaving as though you know better than everyone else. That can't be so. And if you challenge someone on that and they decide to move on, then that's on them, not us, because we have to make everyone feel welcome.
Yes. And if you have somebody there whose behavior and attitude is being detrimental to the rest of the congregation, address it, challenge it, discuss it. But if that doesn't work, then there may come a time when you have to part company, because you can't have the rest of the congregation feeling uncomfortable for one person who is behaving in a way that... I didn't say that, Daniel.
But I agree. Eunice says, I've been asked several times what we're all about. I say, come and find out. And they are all now regulars. So,
fabulous.
Yanis says, like all relationships, there must be lines. No place for ego and power trips. Bravo. Can I ask?
Oh.
Fiona, hello, Fiona. Can I ask? I was fostered into a Christian family, and since a close loved one passed, and they know I go to spiritual churches, they haven't really spoken to me. Isn't believing in God and spiritualism still about unconditional love? May I answer this, Reverend Tony? Or be the first to answer it? I know you'll have your chip in. It should be. It should be. However, preaching unconditional love with conditions isn't unconditional love. And unfortunately, there are a number of organizations and churches that believe that their way is the right way, the only way, and that anything that flies in the face of that is an affront to their religious beliefs and therefore is evil, dark, or nasty. This is where there is a difference of opinion between spiritualism and Christianity, and even spiritualism and Christian spiritualism, and Christianity and Christian spiritualism, because some of the things that are practiced within those ways of life do disagree on what they believe happens after the physical passing. Whilst it is just and right to be tolerant of those differences, to be told that you are a devil worshipper, to be told that you are evil, to be told that you are summoning the dead, that is not being tolerant to other people's philosophies or beliefs. And that is why you and I have been in that situation where people have, not spoken to you because of your connection to a spiritualist church. The God that I follow is the same as everyone else's God, in the sense that I'm not saying that my God is the one true God. I'm just saying that they're all the same great spirit. They're all the same source of the universe. And we should stop being absolutely controlling and owning of God and allow that being and that entity to reflect itself through every living soul. It is the same God in the sense that it is the same source of energy, but we don't own it. It owns itself just like we own ourselves. And therefore, we are responsible for nurturing a personal relationship with that great spirit. And therefore, that relationship should be personal to you, to you, to you, to you, to you. Therefore, no one should tell you what that relationship should be. And if someone does, tell them to take a walk down a very long, short pier and take a good look at themselves, because that's not being religious, and it's certainly not unconditional love. Here, end of the sermon.
No, and it's something I said when I took the vow of ministry, that my job is to help you find that relationship. That's my job. End of. Not to tell you what that is, not to say, oh no, that's wrong, you can't love God if that's what you do. No. And no. And no matter what as Christian spiritualists, we say all are welcome, no matter who, what, where, or whither thou art. You are welcome to come to us. And it is about believing in that one God. And I would have thought, if you're having a conversation with another person of faith, whatever that faith is, I would try and find out, oh, Nick, so you believe in that. What's that about then?
Yeah.
Where does that come from? How did that develop? I would want to understand it so I could find out where we can work together and where the difficulties may lie. So that's where we are, and that's why we are where we are now, because the different aspects of spiritualism, Christianity don't quite gel. So Christian spiritualism gelled for me.
Yeah.
And now the version of Christian spiritualism we're under at the minute really, really fits for me, because when we say we all are welcome, we truly, truly mean it. Truly mean it. I believe
what I believe, and when life after death has been proved in messages, etc., I do believe, and it brought me great comfort. Yes, and that's the thing. You know, I can't tell you what God is, and you know, we've both kind of touched on this in our own ways. I can't tell you what God is. Tony can't tell you what God is. But I tell you what, you can tell me what your God is, and it will help me clear up a better picture of who mine is, because it's all from the different. We are all standing looking up at this great source of energy that is the universe, that is the core of every being, that is the source of every soul, that is the energy that drives the atoms and molecules in every piece of physical matter in the universe. We are all looking at it from a different perspective. So yes, we have our own relationship with it. But as Tony said, one of the great things is that we can understand more about that being by listening to other people's views of what God is, rather than saying, no, my view is the right one. But if we accept that, actually, no, you've got a different view. So you see some similar to what I do, but actually you can see just round the corner of that great big ball of light. And so, you know, you see something else that I don't. What is it? I want to know. And I think that is an amazing opportunity, rather than a club that can be used to bat people on. And I think it's so important. And you carry on exactly the way you are, Fiona.
Yes, you do, because you have a very personal relationship with God, the great divine, whatever you want to call him, it, her, whatever. And nobody could tell you that that is right or wrong. Nobody, and nobody has the right to. I'm really sorry, but they don't.
They don't.
Yes, Yanis, yes. There will always be those people who want to try and upset what the status quo. There always will be, because sometimes it's about me show, and it can't be. That's not what we are, and it's not about me, and it's not about Nick stood at the front of the church. It's not about Hannah doing the raffle. It's not about Jack doing the flying of the laptop. It's not about nobody other than that. The group of people under that roof, there for their specific purpose of worship.
Hear, hear.
Thank you.
And thank you.
And Joanne's point.
Yes, go back to that.
Yeah. Not all people in a spiritualist church are spiritualist, and sometimes some of them aren't even spiritual, dear. But, you know,
we as a way of life have our problems too. We really, really do. To say that we are in any way higher, better, or nobler would be a grievous mistake. However, I think, and I'm going to say this, and it might be a little bit controversial, but as far as a congregation is concerned, our way of life as a congregation are much more accepting of different views and ways of thinking than other congregations might be. Now, whether that's because of the way that it's been impressed upon them as a group, I don't know. But, you know, certainly I don't get a lot of grief from ministers and bishops. I get grief from congregants of other ways of life. You know, I've had very good relationships with the ministers of other ways of life in the village in where I live, but not so much so the people who sit and listen to them.
No.
So, you know, but what I've found is that even if you walk into a difficult spiritualist church where you're not allowed to have a laugh, where, you know, you get questioned about what it is you do, the congregation are brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I'm lucky around here. We've got some lovely churches and some lovely, you know, congregations. So I don't have that much of a problem. But, you know, to say, I think the most important thing is to just be kind, to be accepting, to listen, to open, to be open to other views, and to learn from other people what their God is, so that we can see the similarities. My answer is always this: if you believe your God is infinite, why do you limit it by saying that it hasn't been speaking to all these other people that just understand it a little bit different? Just
fair question. Fiona's point's really good. You starred it, yeah. I believe there is only one God who loves us all unconditionally without judgment. And then Yanis's is just a full stop for me. It just beautiful. Yep. Let people come, sit, pray, and sit in the power of love, and let them be as they evolve and grow, and let them enjoy their journey, because it's their journey.
Yes.
Their journey. Nobody else's journey, their journey.
Absolutely. Well said, Tony says. Ashley.
Thank you.
Shelley, my children have finally accepted what I believe in and no longer judge me, even though they don't believe in it themselves. I get so much comfort they don't judge me anymore. Yes.
Brilliant.
Yanis says, absolutely no better. It purely depends on the dynamics of the group and the people. Same as a workplace. Sadly, spiritualism is no different. Agreed. But we can make a difference.
We can.
And you are most welcome.
Yes.
And do you know it's 20 to 6, mate?
It is. I've got to shoot and get changed.
Gonna say you are off to the theatre, to the show.
I'm going to Rotherham Civic Theatre to see a guy doing Frankie Howard.
Excellent stuff.
Real good night out. I'm in for a good night, I think.
But
yes.
There we go. Absolutely.
Yes.
So
just quickly reading through Joanne's little message, but yeah.
I'm aware that everyone is meant to be on their different paths, as is the pathway they are meant to walk, but have always wondered what makes the vicar of the run-of-the-mill Christian church the vicar, and where do they get their inspirations for sermon from? The same place.
They do.
The same place.
Yes.
So it is gone midnight in Australia.
Wow. I was very aware of what I said. That time.
Oh, yes. Sometimes we do.
Yes. And sometimes just want to leave it there.
And on that note, certainly will. Thank you all for being part of
Thank you so much.
Show. You are amazing as ever, everyone at home. Thank you for keeping the dream alive. I will share the details on how you can get one of your own if you wish. You don't have to. We don't get anything from it. It's all done at cost. It is supporting a local business, which is wonderful, but we don't want anything for it. We just want, if people want it, to enjoy themselves and have something to, sleep in or decorate in or walk around the town and advertise.
Yes.
But
yes.
yeah,
and
whatever you want to
say,
do.
What's Spiritline? Tell them Friday, 4 o'clock.
Facebook.com/groups/Two Revs. Lovely as always, Tony. Thank you all, everyone at home.
And you.
So, from Littleport, and you're in Rotherham now. You are in, because I can see there's no they're solid doors with big walls. So from Littleport and Rotherham to everyone all over the world on Spiritline, both live and in the future watching on playback, thank you all so much. And so it's good night from me,
and it's good night from him. Good night.
God bless. Good night.